so young? Or am I faking on the tip of my tongue? There's a sarcasm waiting for you. I'm willing to trade my soul for a bit of your charm. There's no way I fade into oblivion, 'cause I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. There's mud on the floor, disparate people trying to get through the door, although the room's already crowded. But I'll keep shining over you all. And if your wings entwining, you better face the fall, keep trying again. Oh yeah, keep trying again. Zeros, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. And keep trying again. I'll keep shining over you all with your wings entwining. You better face the fall. Zero, everybody's trying to be heroes when all they have to say to be okay is I don't know. Are you okay? I'm not that sure.
Hello, welcome here for the Great Lakes Truck Series finale. It is the Giant Tiger 200 at Atlanta Motor Speedway, the 22nd and final race of Season 4 of the Great Lakes Truck Series. And I'm joined in the booth by the only driver that's ever won a Truck Series championship. Season 1, 2, and 3, your champion, Elliott Henderson. Elliott, how we doing?
Feeling pretty good, Kyle, and I'm excited to see who we crown here this season. We're already off to a really strong start through qualifying, and I think there's going to be a lot of feel-good stories out of the top four, but it all comes down to here at Atlanta. The track looks pretty good. I don't think we've got anything crazy. Track temp's nice, so we're in for a pretty good show. I'm excited.
We've already got some penalties I see laid out here for today's race, and it's very big to our Championship 4. First, I'm going to update y'all on last week before we get into those penalties. Last week, we were able to decide who was in our Championship 4. After Jake Miller and Ross Brockman locked themselves into the first two races, there was 2 spots remaining. And those final 2 spots ended up going to Ashton Lawson and Matthew Durr. Matthew Durr able to beat out Hunter Madalinas, this season's win leader, by only 3 points. Only 3 points to make the Championship 4. And now we're here at Atlanta. And like I said, we had some penalties today, and two of those the 2 major penalties are for 2 of our Championship 4 drivers, possibly the 2 favorites. Jake Miller and Ashton Lawson must serve a drive-through penalty here today, Elliott.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, they're both right now 1st and 5th on the boards. They were, holding out the front row for a little bit. So I think a lot of these guys are in for a bit of an interesting start because a lot of these guys that qualified up front. I think Gavin Fitzgerald, William Barbagelata, and others have EOLs as well. So not even just the playoff guys are impacted by this. The whole field is going to be shuffled up from all of these penalties that will be handed out prior to the race actually getting going and when these guys grid up. So we'll have to see how they work their way through that. But Jake and Ashton are definitely going to have an uphill battle. Meanwhile, Brockman and Durr can hopefully cycle themselves through to a good spot. I don't see them on the list right now of qualifiers. So Durr's actually sitting 7th. Brockman's 19th, has not qualified yet. So I don't think Brockman's going to put a lap in, which is an interesting start. That puts Durr in the best spot. If this thing goes green, I mean, all he's got to do is just run up at the front, try to break away from these guys, and hold ground. So we'll have to see how Ashton and Jake handle this situation.
I've noticed Brockman throughout a good amount of the season, though. He doesn't tend to qualify every race. He likes to kind of hang out in the back, it looks like, at the beginning of these races and see what happens. He does have the worst average start out of our championship 4 with the 19.8 coming into today's race, starting 19th. So around the usual spot for him. These guys are beginning to line up on the track, Elliott. I'm beginning to get excited for this race. 125 laps around here.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing exactly what these guys end up doing as all the penalties are being handed out now through the text chat. So I think we're in for a really good show, though. It's obvious that Jake Miller has come in here with the intent of finally closing this out. He's been bridesmaid the last 2 seasons, and he's finally come in here with the idea that he can finally close this one out and get this done and put his name on the list of former champs in this series. But, guys like Ashton Lawson, Ross Brockman, and Matthew Durr, they're not slouches, man. I mean, Matthew Durr has been really good this season, and he has been the most consistent without a win, as well as Ross Brockman, who ended up winning Talladega to get his way in. And Ashton Lawson has just shown a ton of pizzazz this season from what he's shown in recent series. So I'd like to see exactly how this unfolds. But again, these penalties are probably going to be the biggest talking point for the first few laps, at least.
Yeah, coming into this, the championship 4 underdog, I'm really looking at that underdog being the number 41 and Matthew Durr and that Xbox machine right there for Defiance Racing. He does really well on these sort of tracks, on the bigger tracks and the road courses and some of the short tracks. He really seems to struggle, but on these 1.5-mile tracks, Matt Durr seems to be one of the stronger competitors. And with Lawson and Miller having to serve those drive-through penalties, Durr could be sitting in a really good position right now. Here we are.
Yeah, just trying to see and make sure that the black flags all went out. It looks like they're about ready to go. So the field will roll off here, and you've got Jake Miller on the pole with Gavin Fitzgerald starting second. And I'm going to focus in on this number 4 because I feel like he's your guy that's going to have the best shot at this. Again, him and Ashton are going to need to work back from this issue, but these guys are definitely your 2 biggest guys to watch.
Yeah, these are definitely your biggest guys to watch. Jake Miller in the number 4 machine has shown a lot of speed all season. He's probably one of the dominant guys. Guy I'm really going to be watching. Like I said, Matthew Durr, he was able to be that last guy that got into the championship 4. Only beat Madalinas out by 3 points to make this race. He has the worst average finish out of the championship 4, but he's been able to keep his car clean throughout a good amount of the season. He has 3 top 5s and 9 top 10s. 9 top 10s is one of the best in the series. So Matthew Durr has been able just to hang out in the top 10, top 15 in those last 2 races before we came here. He got 6th at Talladega and then 7th last week at Martinsville. 2 very difficult racetracks to get a good finish and put him here in the championship 4 today.
Yeah, sorry. I'm keeping up with these black flag situations. I think the other big note here is someone like Matthew Durr with 0 wins is really your biggest underdog coming in here. Again, though, the best qualifier out of this group because of these guys that have their penalties and everything. So I think you know, Matthew Durr is definitely going to be the other one to really, really keep an eye on. But don't forget all these other guys that are out here that really want to win this race that don't care about that points battle. Daniel Nanny's back. He's been a threat at this track every single time we come here. Gavin Fitzgerald is up here. Or I'm sorry, he has an EOL, unfortunately, but qualified second. So he has a ton of speed, and he has been a threat at multiple tracks this season. You've got guys like Barba Gelada that got eliminated from the playoffs, but he's also incredibly fast at so many places. These guys all really want to get this done, and sometimes the winner comes from someone that's not even with that blue banner.
We're going to go green flag racing here at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the season finale of season number 4 of the Great Lakes Truck Series, presented by Patti Engineering. Jake Miller will lead them to the green flag, but he will have to serve that drive-through penalty. We're going to go green flag racing here in the Giant Tiger 200 for the 22nd and final race of the season, and Miller leads him down. A great start from him. And Barba Gelada and Nanny are going to battle it out for what could possibly be the race lead, with Lawson right in behind him.
Huge launch from Jake. It'll be interesting to see exactly how Jake and Ashton handle this. Both of them have to make this stop. Are they going to do it immediately, or are they going to wait a few laps to do it? They have that call. You don't have to pit immediately. You can wait 3 or 4 laps to get this done before you actually come in. Is Jake going to maybe take the strategy of trying to build a lead and then come in? No, he's going to do it immediately. Right down pit road. Nanny flies by. New leader, Daniel Nanny, Jake Miller, Ashton Lawson, and others serving that black flag penalty early here.
Yeah, a lot of drivers getting a black flag penalty. Shane Neiswanger, William Barba Gelada was included in that. Lawson, like we mentioned, was also included in that. A lot of black flags right here. They're all serving that pass-through penalty, and now we'll get back onto the racetrack and continue on. But now these drivers are going to be hoping for a caution. If this race goes green the rest of the way, this might end up being a championship where it's Matthew Durr versus Ross Brockman.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen. We've had green to checkered races before at this track, specifically with this series, with this truck. And I mean, Daniel Nanny's the first guy to say, give me all of that. He's driven out to about a 1-second lead over Eric Kepf up to P2. But I mean, you got to wonder, what does Matthew Durr really do in this situation? Started 7th, has worked his way up to about 4th, just needs to chill. How aggressive does Matthew Durr get? Again, the one guy in this Final 4, no wins, nothing like that coming in here. So how aggressive does he get? Does he do this without a win? Does he care about getting that win? What does he do towards the end of this, and how hard is he going to push to try to get this done?
Matthew Durr looking really good here in the beginning portion of this race. You mentioned moved from 7th to 4th. He was able to make those 3 spots on Barba Gelada, Lawson, and Miller coming down pit road. And he battled out with Mclean a second ago, able to hang on to that 4th spot. You see a battle right behind them. Jordan Gonzalez and Aaron Duclos. Gonzalez showed a lot of speed at the very beginning portion of the season. And for like the second portion of the season, I'd say he's been absent for the most part and has been involved in a lot of incidents, usually not of his own doing, but he's looking really fast here early in that number 3 machine, Jordan Gonzalez.
Quick note before we let it get too far, we had a statistical mess up the last time that we did this and had Eric Kepf at 100 starts. Matthew Daniels is actually making his 100th genuine start because SimRacer Hub uses the playoff brackets as certain starts. Eric has been a playoff driver in the past. He's not technically at 100 actual starts. Matt Daniels is running 3rd right now, started 10th. So huge climb to the front for him already. We'll have to see if those tires can hang on, but great start for him to go from 10th to 3rd. I know obviously a lot of the guys that were up here had to pit with those black flags, but he's definitely moved his way up through the field, and it'll be interesting to see how much he can continue to progress or if he starts to lose a little bit of ground here, as Eric seems to be driving away a little bit.
I don't know, that car might have a different feel to it, because look at it, it's usually that blue Walmart machine. It's all white this week for the season finale. Daniel's looking strong here early. Kept 2 up here in 2nd. You don't usually see Eric Kepf up here in the top 3 or 4 this early in the race. Down when we get to the end of the race, you'll usually see him get up there. But here at the very beginning of the race, it's very unusual for Eric Kepf to be up in the 2nd spot. And if I'm the rest of the field, I might be scared of that.
Yeah, again, I mean, you don't really see Eric up here, but towards the end, he finds his way. So if he's already up here at the beginning, you got to imagine maybe that truck is feeling a little bit better than it normally does. 8th to 2nd on the day. Steve Mclean, another one up here in this top 5 that we don't talk about enough. I feel like he gets, you know, a lot of bad rep from being caught up in accidents or just something. I mean, he's usually running right around the top 10, if not the top 5. Here he is running 5th after starting 12th already. So strong run for him right off the bat as Durr looks to the inside of Matt Daniels. That's for 3rd. Matthew Durr making moves, trying to gain some spots and get to the front here. And maybe just keep his eye on where Ross Brockman is. But for now, he wants every spot he can get. And he's going to get a little bit of help from Steve Mclean to hopefully clear Matt Daniels through 1 and 2 here.
You were mentioning Mclean, and I've been watching him all season. And when we started the playoffs, I considered Mclean and Justin Mons to really be the best of the rest. They've shown top 10 speed, even top 5 speed at times, race in and race out. But you mentioned it, Elliott. They've both just been kind of involved in a lot of incidents, especially Mclean. Mclean's been a top 5 driver on a pretty consistent basis this season.
Yeah, and it's hurtful to see him involved in so much stuff when he's had solid runs too. It's really some of his best runs that he gets involved in stuff. I think back to, I believe it was Michigan or something, where he was running about 6th or 7th and looking like he was going to maybe make up some ground. Here he is right on the back of Durr, really wants this spot at this point. The bottom is just not working as well as the top. Hunter Madalina's giving him a push down the back stretch. Hunter up 21st to 7th now, but you know, Steve has had really strong speed at certain places, but it just doesn't seem to pan out. I'm hoping that when he comes back next season, runs another full-time season, that he can find a little bit more luck and put himself into the playoffs. He never made it this season, just based off a lot of those bad runs that he ended up having that weren't really anything to do with his fault. He was just in the wrong place at the wrong time in a lot of moments.
Here comes Madalinas and that number 9 machine. He was unfortunately unable to make the championship 4. Our regular season champion, Hunter Madalinas, the number 9 machine, won the most races during the season, but was eliminated by only 3 points last week at Martinsville, and now he's here fighting for what would be his 6th victory of the season if he's able to get the job done here today.
Shot out of a cannon was the 37 truck. He went right to the inside of Matt Daniels based off that run that he got around Durr. Durr's back 3 spots now, looking like he's going to drop closer to about 10th as Hunter Madalinas now looks to the inside of Matt Daniels, who's been cleared by Steve Mclean. And Aaron Duclos, another one that we talk about quite often, just didn't quite have the luck through the playoffs to make it into the Final 4. Right there, sitting right behind Madalinas. That's all for about the fifth position.
Remember who started 2nd place and had to go to the end of the longest line? Well, look right behind Matthew Durr. The giant Tiger machine itself, Gavin Fitzgerald. Where did he come from? He must have a lot of speed in the number 14 machine. It's the giant Tiger 200, so I know he would want to get the job done here today.
Yeah, you got to wonder how much these tires can really take this pain. There's a lot of guys that have driven their way up here from far on back, and you got to wonder if that right front will be able to hold on as Madalinas clears Matt Daniels. You can see just how hard it is to pass on the inside, too. It took Madalinas a while. You can see how far ahead Steve Mclean is from that battle. So, you know, the more these guys really try to pressure each other, the more they're just going to wear out that right front. And a guy that we haven't mentioned at all has started 19th, didn't qualify, has worked his way up to 14th, and has just sat there. And it's Ross Brockman, and he just hasn't really pressured anybody or done...
Madalinas got completely sideways. What a phenomenal save from Madalinas. He's sipping that Monster Energy now, driving down the front stretch, because he was completely sideways like Ken Block going through the corner. What a save from Madalinas.
Oh, I mentioned front tires. I think that'll kill your rear tires just as equally. So I'm sure Madalinas isn't going to be too happy about that. But I think Matt Daniels just kind of thought he could go into the corner a little bit harder, and Madalinas didn't really want to do that. Matt Durr is in the wall. Matt Durr is hard in the wall.
Oh man, and Matt Durr was way out in front of his other Championship 4 contenders, and now he might be slow in that 41 machine. He hit the wall very hard in 3 and 4, going into the corner, trying to get a wide entry.
And Brockman can literally see him now. I mean, they are very close to each other. Durr is just ahead of Woodall. Woodall was in a battle with Brockman just a few laps ago as Brockman puts his eyes on Hunter Brittle for that 13th spot. So this immediately just got closer. Your whole Championship 4 is running outside the top 10. Durr had this made. He just needed to be relaxed and just run up there where he was, and he didn't need to do anything, but he got a little bit close to that safer barrier that punches out going into turn 3, and it was just enough to just move the truck up into it. And all of a sudden, he is now right in the eyes of Ross Brockman, who, again, has been sitting back here. ideally saving tires from what I can tell, not pushing the truck whatsoever. So we'll have to see just how quickly he can work his way up to Durr, if he wants to do it now, or if he's, I mean, we know Ross Brockman's patient though. So I don't think he's in an area to try and go up there and get him right now, but he can see him. There's no point in not trying to get up there and take that spot if you can't do it.
Yeah, looking live here, it looks like the underdog might have put himself into the doghouse right there. Here comes Ross Brockman, very quick. Most of the season here in the Great Lakes Truck Series, that sort of damage that Matthew Durr has is not really going to affect you, because most of the tracks we've raced on the schedule are very short speedways or short tracks or road courses. But a track like Atlanta, that damage on the right side of Matthew Durr is going to hinder him a lot. As you see, he continues to lose spots. If the race would end right now, Ross Brockman would be your champion. He's battling on the inside with Matthew Durr as we speak.
Be your champion from 12th position. Imagine that. Meanwhile, I mean, up front, just because we need to update you on the lead situation, Daniel Nanny has turned out to over a 2-second lead. However, Steve Mclean putting pressure on Eric Kep. Steve Mclean definitely showing that he is not to be denied today, up right there battling Eric Kep for that second position. So we'll have to see if he can keep the speed going today out of that 37 truck. But right now, Daniel Nanny has everything that he wants, and it's going his way perfectly.
Yeah, Daniel Nanny, and another one of those drivers that I personally expected to be in the Championship 4. Like, in my mind, when the playoffs started, I thought the Championship 4 was going to be Madalinas, Miller, Lawson, and Nanny. And Nanny was another driver eliminated earlier on in the playoffs, earlier than was expected. Has been very close to winning a championship here in the Great Lakes Truck Series before. And here in the series finale, even though he's not in the Championship 4 this time around, he's out there leading the race by almost 2.5 seconds over Mclean. As you see this battle back here with DuPont, Brittle, and Durr, as Durr is just trying to hang on to as many spots as he can. But I think that damage is really affecting that 41 right now.
Yeah, I think, as soon as you make that hard wall contact like he did, I mean, the truck may have been driving pretty well before, but it's immediately going to get tighter. And, the track isn't super high. It's 95 degrees, so it's already relatively tight. So you just want to be really careful with trying to not overheat that right front. But he sees Brockman just driving away, and it's deteriorating. So you want to drive the truck harder, but at the same time, you're just going to hurt yourself doing that. So he's really in a vulnerable spot here. He just needs to try to get through to this first pit stop, the first caution, whatever happens. This is a long race. We're over 100 laps still left in this one. Plenty of time for something to happen. So he just needs to keep with it and realize that, I mean, it's not good now, but he's still second of the playoff guys. So he'd still end up second in points at this point. So he just needs to keep an eye on Brockman, try to drive the best that he can, and just try not to make any more mistakes at this point, because that wall contact is definitely going to hurt him here.
We're around a fifth of the way through this series finale. Just to update you on the rest of our Championship 4. Ashton Lawson and Jake Miller are around 13, 14 seconds behind. Jake Miller currently 21 seconds behind our race leader of Daniel Nanny, and around 14 seconds behind championship leader Ross Brockman. And then the 20th position is our other Championship 4 contender, Ashton Lawson, who's around 2 seconds back of Miller. So that would put him around 9 seconds back of Ross Brockman right now. These drivers, of course, if you missed the beginning of the race, had a pass-through penalty that they had to serve from last week at Martinsville. And they're hoping on a caution now. If they don't get a caution, like I said, Ross Brockman is sitting very pretty right now, especially with Matthew Durr having that damage. These drivers back here, plus Matthew Durr to repair his damage, are definitely going to need a caution to have a shot at this championship, Elliott.
I'll say one thing that's benefiting Jake and Ashton right now. They're not in traffic. They're not dealing with anybody. Their tires they're as comfortable as Daniel Nanny. They haven't had to pass anyone. They haven't had to do anything. And that is very big in the case of tire management. Right now, Jake Miller is consistently lapping faster than Brockman by over a tenth every single lap. Last time it was 0.2. This past time it was 0.1. So is that enough to make up 20 seconds over the next 100 or so laps? Hard to tell. But at the same time, Brockman's already fallen to 7.3 seconds behind. That puts Jake about 14 seconds behind. 14 seconds, I think, could potentially be made up through pit strategies. It'll just be interesting to see how it all winds out. But, with 100 laps left, there's no sense in worrying about anything. You're just going to have to run this as far as you can, hope that there's a yellow somewhere in the middle, and then make it all work out. But right now, you know, they're doing the best they can. They have the best tires. They don't need to force anything.
You saw Ashton Lawson not too far behind Miller. He's going to try to get up there as well. Ashton Lawson has had a very impressive season. He leads the series in top 5s and top 10s. He's had a very strong season. Ashton has. And he was able to get his first win in the Truck Series just a couple of weeks ago at the Glen. And if I remember correctly, he's the only driver this season to get that start to finish win. He started on the pole and he led all 50 laps at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, super impressive season for Ashton. And you can see a new paint scheme tonight with the Office Depot Tony Stewart throwback there. I'm not sure the relation for that, but, you know, if he wants to say that he's going to be aggressive tonight to try to get it done, and, you know, Tony obviously did it with a pretty poor regular season and then came alive in the postseason, and Ashton did just that, won his first race in the postseason in the Truck Series, so in dominating fashion, albeit as well. So definitely a season for him to remember, no matter how this sorts out. But for now, just trying to figure out how he can capitalize and cap off this season with a championship. That's his biggest concern here. And he's got one of the, well, they're all in front of him, but Jake Miller is the one directly in front of him that I think is still one of his biggest competitors here, because if he can't catch Jake, there's no sense in even worrying about Brockman and Durr at this point. So he's got a little bit of work ahead of him, but, you know, maybe that new truck will spark some life into him and give him a little bit of a here kitty kitty and go get Jake Miller.
Now, Lawson and Miller are going to really be trying different sort of strategies, I'm thinking, here tonight, or maybe hoping for a caution as we almost get one. Brittle completely sideways off turns 1 and 2, almost slams the inside wall, almost hit the inside wall very hard. A great save from the number 10 machine of Hunter Brittle. We almost got our first caution of the day right there. But yeah, Miller and Lawson are really going to be trying different strategies today, but with Brockman's been so good on strategy all season long. So I'm interested to see what he does, but we're going to see here Brittle gets into the wall and just what a save. He's able to keep in the gas for the most part, and looked like he only lost the one spot. Actually, no, 2 spots. Matthew Durr got past him too.
The interesting thing is, looking at these timings, Jake Miller has consistently been the fastest car on track, catching even Daniel Nanny, as we have, I believe that's Gonzalez hitting pit road. We've got pit stops beginning here, which isn't surprising, and I think Eric Kep may have actually made a mistake off turn 4 as well, or no, he just lost a spot to Hunter Madalinas. But I believe with Jake's pace right now, again, I don't want to sit here and do the math, but if these guys can consistently break off this speed, and if they don't get bunched back up and he can just pick guys off one at a time, he may have the speed to go and catch Ross Brockman. Ross is losing a bunch of time to Daniel Nanny, and if you just compare the time that Brockman's running compared to what Nanny's running compared to Jake, Jake is just consistently faster than these guys. So it'll be interesting to see how this all sorts out, and if Jake can continue this for the entire race, because that's the big thing. If you can do it for one run, that's great. Can he do it for the next 100 laps?
You just saw it on your screen right there. Anderson Bowen looked like he overshot the entry to pit road a little bit and went to the grass. Not sure if he'll end up getting a black flag for that or not. But Anderson Bowen able to save the car at least. Eric Kep had a very close moment coming onto pit road too as well. Barely able to get underneath the speed limit. A very good entry from Mr. Pink as he exits pit road right there. We have some more takers on pit road. It looks like is that Matt Daniels and Aaron Duclos on pit road now.
Yeah, I believe Matthew Durr, Ross Brockman, and others are still staying out. This top 4 are definitely going to run this pretty much dry because they don't want to have the chance of being caught with older tires at any point. They'd rather, be the ones caught out here and go to the tail end, which makes plenty of sense. But at the same time, you got to wonder who's going to pit first, who's going to try to undercut.
Look like Lawson just came on pit road in the number 24 a moment ago. He's currently in his pit box. That's our first Championship 4 contender to make that first initial pit stop of the day. We're around 35 laps in. Our other 3 contenders still need to make those pit stops, and Nanny still leads the field. He's stayed out still, and Akimano has moved up to second. And here comes Nanny.
Jake Miller has also hit pit road just ahead of Daniel Nanny, so we'll see if Brockman takes the bait this time. I don't believe laps led matter, but Brockman will come around, stay on the lead lap, and continue on. Another quick note, Peter Akimano, who will lead this lap, has actually had one of the most solid days. I mean, he has driven his way all the way up to 8th and had an incredible day so far. So kudos to him, and we'll see if he can continue that. Jake Miller seems to have missed his box. I believe we're pulling that replay up. He slid through, following Hunter Madalenas very closely. That's going to be a lot of time lost for him as he's exiting pit road now. And it looks like Shane will actually clear him, and I don't quite see Ashton.
Yeah, Ashton's already passed him. Ashton's almost the whole back stretch in front of him right now. Jake Miller overshot that box by a good amount. It took him too long to get back into his box. That I'd probably guess that cost him at least 4 or 5 seconds right there, Elliott. That's huge if he wants to catch up to Brockman.
Yeah, I mean, he had everything going for him that he needed there. He just needed to be really clean on every single aspect of this race, because with that penalty at the beginning, he's in a really big hole. So, man, not the time you wanted that to happen, but at the end of the day, you're still in shooting range of Ashton at this point. You can still see him. He's there. You just got to go get him at this point. And you got to wonder if they can still go ahead and catch Brockman and Durr. Because right now, that's the biggest question. I mean, if they can't catch Brockman and Durr, none of this matters. They can overshoot pit boxes all day trying to be more aggressive. If they can't get to them, they're not going to win a championship. Durr hits pit road.
Matthew Durr just pulling off of pit road, and he's getting passed by Ashton on the outside. Ashton is taking that spot away from Matthew Durr. I'm not sure exactly what had happened on pit road with maybe Matthew Durr, but he's lost that spot to Lawson.
He did not overshoot his box. I think these guys just stayed out long enough. Tire wear is a huge deal. These guys are pretty much wide open, whereas on old tires, they're running significantly slower lap times. Ross Brockman is still on the track, has not pitted.
Coming down pit road right now, it looks like the number 52. Currently your championship leader, Ross Brockman, in that Rowdy Energy Toyota, was able to get his first career win just 2 weeks ago at Talladega, able to lock himself into the championship 4 after leading a good amount of the season on top of the points in the regular part of the season. He's able to get into his box okay, and he's gonna get 4 fresh good years right here, and we'll see if he comes out in front of Lawson.
You got to wonder if his idea here was trap half the field a lap down. I mean, he had basically Ashton, Durr, and Jake all trapped a lap down, and you could only figure that that was his strategy, was to do that and then just hope that some way or another that they would just be trapped. But you know, we definitely know that Brockman is one to pull the different strategies, and going as long as possible is definitely a really good tactic here with how much these tires wear. He comes off of pit road now. He doesn't use the little banked portion of the apron, and Ashton is going to be right off of turn 2 as he's off of turn 2. They're going to battle down the backstretch, but Ashton should have the advantage going into turn 3.
And that might just be the inexperience of not taking green flag pit stops here at Atlanta there, Elliott, because that when you're on that banked portion of the exit of pit road, you can probably go at least 15 miles an hour quicker right there. And that cost Brockman a lot of time. It cost him possibly 2 seconds right there. He would definitely be in front of Lawson right now if he was on the banked portion.
And I know we're looking at about 12th and 13th and 14th and 15th, but we have a race for a championship now. These guys are all right on top of each other, and Brittle's going to be the first guy in the middle of this to say, I don't really care what's going on behind me, but I want to pass these guys. So Brittle to the outside of Lawson hinders his pace. Jake has caught Ashton Lawson. Brockman, now with the freshest tires of the group, needs to figure out what he wants to do. He needs to get around Ashton and set sail. He needs to go. He has the best tires. He's right here with these guys. He can't sit here and deal with Ashton and Brittle and Jake, but Jake's to his outside, and they're all going to battle until the bitter end. Jake knows that he needs to clear these guys. Durr is right there just praying someone makes a mistake and he can get some ground made up. But we literally have a championship battle. It's just the fact that it's happening for about 13th place.
These drivers for the championship are battling awfully hard. They're battling awfully hard at the front, too. We have a 3-car battle for the lead between Mclean, Nanny, and Madalenas. They've been going at it the last couple of laps, been switching back and forth. There you see it right there. Mclean is currently the race leader with Nanny right in behind him and Madalenas right behind him. These guys being on different strategies have really changed up the lineup right here, and they're battling pretty hard right now for the race lead. Nanny wants that lead back after leading pretty much the whole beginning portion of this race so far.
Brockman caught the wall going into turn 3 as soon as we cut back to the lead, and now we have a battle for the championship on track. Jake Miller to the outside of Ashton Lawson. He's going to try to clear him off of turn 4. They're side by side down the front stretch. Jake will probably have the advantage in turn 1, and he is back to the point. The guy overshot his pit box, but he said, I don't care. I'm here to put down fast laps and beat everybody on track. He's now your championship points leader. Matthew Durr, coming back from his issues early on, still probably wants that yellow to get that damage repaired, but he has some speed in that truck. And then Brockman, freshest tires of the group. Not sure if he's saving or if he just doesn't feel super competitive against these guys right now, but he is definitely trying to figure out exactly how he can beat the 3 guys in front of him. He has the best tires. He just needs to get around them and get going.
All 4 of the championship 4 guys all lumped up together right now. 16th, 15th, 14th, and 13th. Jake Miller, Ashton Lawson, Matthew Durr, and Ross Brockman all battling it out for the championship right now around the 12th place. While we still have the battle up front going on between Nanny, Mclean, and Madalinas. They're all going at it pretty hard still. Mclean was trying to separate himself, but Nanny was able to take that spot away just around a lap and a half ago, and now Madalinas is right there behind Mclean. He's trying to take the spot away now.
Brockman, meanwhile, using patience back around Matthew Durr, setting sights on Ashton Lawson. This isn't over yet. Ross Brockman realizing that those tires are going to continue to fall off for Jake Miller and Ashton Lawson, and he's going to use that to his advantage. He sets sights on Lawson going into turn 3. Not really enough there, but he knows he has the better tires by a good amount as he looks to the inside of Lawson off of turn 4. He's going to try to use them and go after Jake now.
Ross has had a very strong season. Even though a good amount of the races, you've seen him finish around the 10th spot. He's had a lot of good races. He has 5 top 5s on this season, including 3 second-place finishes. 2 of those being at Miami and Bristol, 2 very difficult racetracks to get a good finish like that. And he has the fresher tires right now, Elliott. He's gotten past Lawson, and now he's setting his sights on Miller. He's beginning to catch him on those fresh tires. Question is, what is the strategy for the remainder of this race, and do we get any cautions along the way?
He has 5 lap fresher tires. It's not even a contest for Jake at this point. He's going to have to figure out, Jake does, what he can do later on to really fix this, because Brockman is apparently able, he's just going to play the strategy of going as long as possible. And if this goes green and he can continue to keep the best tires on the truck, he's going to drive away with this. The tires matter so much here. It's what allows you to get through the center of the corner. It's what allows you to get off the corner. And Brockman's going to use that to his advantage coming off of turn 4. 5 lap fresher tires. Brockman takes the championship point across the flag, and he is going to try to take this to the house. We're coming up on lap 50, and these guys need to figure out what they can do to put this 52 truck behind them at this point.
Ross Brockman in the Rowdy Energy Toyota has retaken the championship lead from Jake Miller. Jake Miller riding in second when it comes to the championship battle. Ashton Lawson not too far behind him, and then Matthew Durr not too far behind him. They're all within around 2 seconds of each other right now. We have a phenomenal championship battle. You're not really missing anything up at the front. Nanny has continued to gap Mclean and Madalinas. Madalinas has taken away that second position from Mclean a few laps ago. Kep is hanging on to that 4th spot, and Gavin Fitzgerald has moved back into the top 5, hanging out in the 5th spot in the giant Tiger machine.
Yeah, Nanny's starting to open it back up. We thought maybe Steve was going to be the challenger, but it looks like Hunter's kind of been the guy that's going to jump up and say, I might be able to give you a run for this. He's about a half a second behind him, somewhat closing, staying somewhat even. Steve's right there behind him, but you know, overall a good battle for this lead. Again, Hunter Madalinas coming from 21st on the grid, pretty much as far back as you can see. Meanwhile, you've got guys like Peter Akimano and James Shiflett coming back from 23rd and 24th up to about 10th and 11th on the grid, so on the track currently. So good runs all around for a lot of these guys that started way at the back, had EOLs and all this other stuff. So we'll just have to see how they can sort out their runs. But right now, eyes are on Ross Brockman running P11 and just driving away from his competitors after staying out for 5 extra laps to get 5 lap fresher tires. It is showing how much that matters this late in the run.
Because Ross isn't just out driving his championship contenders right now. He's around a running around a half a second to 0.6 to 0.7 seconds quicker than Jake Miller a lap. But the last few laps, he's also been the quickest driver on the track, period. He is flying in that Rowdy energy machine.
Yeah, he has had the freshest tire. He has the freshest tires of anyone. He stayed out as long as possible, but again, he could do that because these guys had black flag penalties. It doesn't matter to him. He didn't care about the ground that he lost. He may have been running 7th, 8th, 6th, and now he's 11th, but that doesn't matter because everybody needs to beat behind him. When you're running for a championship and you've only got 3 competitors, you don't care about the 10 guys in front of you. You just care about those guys right behind you. So Brockman doing it by the book of what he needs to do to win this championship. I think if you told Brockman, hey, you're going to finish 20th and those guys are going to finish 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, he'd give you a thumbs up and say, let's go do it. Like, I don't think that bothers him whatsoever. There's a lot of guys that come out here and say, I want to win the race, I want to win the championship, and I want it all done in once. But Brockman's not that guy. He's your strategic guy. He is going to come out here and just do what he can to win this championship. Whether it's an 11th place finish, a win, he's going to put it on the line for that.
Watching Jake Miller right now in that number 4 machine has been one of the most dominant drivers on the season. Our other 3 contenders have had 21 starts. Miller's been able to get a lot of his stats with only 15 starts. 3 wins on the season. That's second out of the series when it comes to wins on the season. He's second in all-time wins. He's finished second in the championship the last 2 seasons. So Miller wants this win bad, and he's just shown phenomenal speed all year long, no matter where we're at, no matter what we're doing. Jake Miller seems to be up there at the front. But right now, he's struggling a little bit when it comes to the competition overall, but here in the championship battle, currently runs second.
Yeah, he's got a clear shiftlet. Hunter's dealing with it right now, or I'm sorry, Ashton Lawson's dealing with it right now with Hunter Brittle right behind him. Like, anybody around you, if they're tucked up behind you, it's going to make you loose. If they're sitting in front of you, it's just going to make you arrow tight. So Ashton's in one of the worst spots, being surrounded by 2 guys, as he's going to look to the inside of James Shiflett there and try to take back the 13th spot and look towards Jake Miller, who's moved up to 12th. But right now, Brockman has set sights, and he is about 3 seconds up of Jake Miller. The question is, towards the end of this run, can Miller and Lawson gain anything back, or are they stuck where they are?
Driver that's also been making very consistent lap times is Lewis Woodall. Lewis Woodall has been running quickest laps on the racetrack the last few times by, and he pit around 2 or 3 laps before Brockman, so I think he's doing a good job of saving those tires in that RC Cola Chevrolet of Lewis Woodall, looking very strong there right now in the 9th spot.
One thing I will say to Ashton and Jake is that 3 seconds is not a ton to make up over 60 or 70 laps here. They can definitely, without a doubt, do this. They just need to stay focused. They're losing tenths on tenths, though, and that may turn into a bit of a battle for them. But remember, they made up, 8 or 9 seconds there. So the question is, how much does Ross actually get back from this? And is it worth Jake and Ashton doing the same strategy and Ross actually staying on that strategy of pitting that much later? Because Ross may be a little bit skewed with his idea of how much this is helping him because of how much they gained on him throughout that run in general because of the black flag situation. So, without doing the timing right now, we don't really know. But right now, Brockman has a 3.5 second gap back to Miller, which is much smaller than what it was prior to the yellow flag, prior to the pit stop, coming out. So you got to wonder how big he can gap that and if he can bring it back to the number that it was prior to those pit stops. If he can't do that, then, Jake and Ashton have gained ground overall still.
So I want to say that gap right before we started our first round of pit stops. Oh, DuPont in the wall very hard off 2. Aiden DuPont slams the wall very hard. But as I was saying, right before we started pit stops, I want to say Brockman was around 14 seconds, maybe a little bit under 14 seconds ahead of Jake Miller and Ashton Lawson. So that lead, like you said, Elliott, has definitely shrunk. It's only around 3 to 4 seconds right now, the difference between Brockman and Miller. So that lead is shrunk around 10 seconds. And when these drivers are on fresh tires, they're running on 31 second lap times. On these old tires, they're running over 33 seconds. So that's 2 seconds a lap right there. There's your 10 seconds right there in the 5 lap difference on when they came to pit road.
Yeah, you got to wonder from Matthew Durr's standpoint here, what does he do? What does he think he can do to get up to Ashton, to get up to Jake Miller to try to flip this the other direction. I mean, you know, a guy that came in here 0 wins on the season, really just hoping and praying that he could find some extra speed this weekend and get it done. It's gone awry with the well, Ashton Lawson hit pit road, but it went awry pretty early with the wall contact initially from Matthew Durr. But you got to wonder if maybe he's going to pull out a different strategy call, or maybe a yellow flag sets him back, or it sets him back into things and gives him another chance at this. Let's watch Ashton Lawson make his pit stop, see if he can gain anything back here.
Yeah, Lawson pitting way early here in the number 24 machine, just trying to get off strategy, try something different. Throughout most of this race, he's been running either in 3rd or 4th when it comes to the championship battle, so he needs to set himself aside on a completely different strategy, because I think last time he maybe came down pit road around 2, maybe 3 laps before Miller. I think he's just trying to come in as early as he can, where he can stay on that pit window, but at the same time try to get as much time as he can on these fresh tires.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see exactly what these guys really try to do. I mean, that's a very big short pit, but I see what the strategy call is. He's essentially realizing that he can short pit these next 2 stints and try to make that time up. So we'll have to see what that ends up being for him, but I got to question whether or not he can really make that work this early on with how much these tires fall off. I just don't know what that means for him. I don't really like the short pit strategy, only because I know how much these things really fall off over the entire run.
I'm not the biggest fan of the short pit strategy either, but I feel like he already kind of made his bed. Now he has to kind of lay in it, especially with Brockman pulling out as far as he did. If he gets on the same strategy as Brockman, he's going to have to make up a good amount of time in that number 24 machine. So I think he's just trying to try something different, trying to get away from Jake Miller's strategy, trying to do something completely different than Brockman and Durr, who stayed out a lot longer than Miller and Lawson did. And maybe he catches a good break. Maybe he'll be in the race lead and a caution will come out before the other drivers get past him. And then they all might end up being on the same strategy, as they all might come down to pit road and get fresh tires at that point.
Yeah, the interesting thing here is Jake has evened out. I think he's better when this run goes about as long as possible, because he is evened out now. So that's why I worry about this short run.
If I'm Ross Brockman at this point, I'm just watching Jake Miller. I don't think I stay out as long as I did that last time. I think I stay out. When I see Jake Miller come down pit road, I'm coming in the very next lap. I think that's the strategy Brockman has to pull if he wants to win this championship, if we end up staying green the remainder of this race.
Yeah, I think Ashton's playing just the only card that he has, which is I need to get off strategy of these guys and really try to figure this out, because you know Brockman's strategy at this point. He's going to run it as far as he possibly can and see where that takes him. But we don't know if his raw speed is as quick as Jake and Ashton's. Obviously, Jake has shown that he has as much, if not more, speed than Ashton by coming off of pit road behind him and ending up passing him and staying ahead of him and even driving away from him throughout that run. So you got to wonder if you're Ashton Lawson, does this undercut really work? Does Brockman stick to his guns and continue staying out as long as he can? Does Jake Miller decide, I'm going to try to mimic Ross Brockman now because maybe I can catch him overall in the run? There's just so many options here that these guys can take at this point. So I think Brockman still has one of the best strategies, but at the end of the day, you got to really think that maybe Ashton could pull this out just based off the amount of ground that he can make up this early.
Just to update you on our 4th championship contender, Matthew Durr has fallen back considerably. He's around 8 seconds back of Jake Miller at this point. It's even farther back, obviously, of Ross Brockman, almost 10 seconds back of Brockman. So Matthew Durr has lost a lot of time on this run. I'm not sure if it's the damage or he maybe had fallen off on his tires a little quicker than he expected, but he has fallen back awfully far in that number 41 machine. We are looking at Eric Kep. Eric Kep was one of the first drivers to come down pit road on this last set of pit stops. the set of pit stops isn't quite finished yet. We still have Brockman and Miller amongst a couple other drivers that still have to make those second round of pit stops. As we hear Lewis Woodall, race leader, he's about to come down pit road, and that's going to hand the lead over to Ross Brockman. This is the championship race, so laps led aren't really going to matter. It's all about where you finish. Highest finishing championship driver gets the championship. Ross Brockman currently leads the race. For the first time today, a Championship 4 driver might lead the lap.
Yeah, Brockman led that lap. Ashton Lawson to his back bumper and will clear him. Jake Miller seems to have hit pit road already, and I don't believe he had any issues getting into his box. He did not. May have taken that one a little bit softer, knowing what happened last time. So the big thing is going to be, where does Ashton come out? Where does Jake end up? And when does Ross Brockman hit pit road? Ashton's already passed Jake Miller, just now exiting pit road. Does this strategy for Ashton Lawson pay off?
I think Brockman has to come in this time by. It's been 2 laps since Miller came down pit road, so I feel like Brockman has to come down this time, but at the same time, I think he might be trying a strategy where also he maybe traps a driver like Jake Miller a lap down. But at this point, I think that risk is too big to take. You see the onboard of Ross Brockman, currently race leader and championship leader, but needs to make his second pit stop of the day. These drivers will have to pit one more time after this. This will have to be at least a 3-stop strategy race. Ross Brockman, does he come in this time, or does he pass by pit road again? It looks like he might pass by pit road again, as has a lane between himself and the bottom, and he will. Oh, caution! Oh, this is huge! There's a caution on the speedway! This is exactly what Ross Brockman wanted. Wow.
Looks like it's Shane Icewanger and William Barbagelata.
Oh man, Mr. Excitement. It just got real exciting here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, especially if you're Ross Brockman or a fan of Ross Brockman, because now he leads the race. He leads the race and he stays on pit road and he traps Jake Miller a lap down.
Question is Miller going to be able to take the wave with anybody else staying out on track?
Lawson's on the lead lap. I don't know if Miller is behind Lawson, but Lawson is on the lead lap with 4 fresh tires. And it looks like Nanny is on the lead lap with fresh tires, and Madalinas, I'm not sure where Miller lines up right now compared to them. Here's the incident right here. It looks like Barb gets into the side of the 49 of Nicewanger. Nicewanger just goes around to the inside, and that's our first caution of the day here on lap 73.
So Matt Daniels is going to get the free pass. Lewis Woodall, Jake Miller, Brandon Barkowski, all opportunity to take the wave around here, which it looks like they are going to do. That'll trap, I believe actually Barbagelata will get the wave. Peter Akimano's driving up to the front of the field like he's going to get the wave around. So a lot of guys are going to get waved back to the front here. Brockman exiting pit road now. Nanny, Madalinas, and everybody else. But this just cycled Brockman up to the lead, and that is worst case scenario for all of the other guys that that are, you know, running blue banners today, because that's not what you want to see. He's now going to have the clean air. He's going to have the pace, and he can kind of do what he wants. The question is, how aggressive are these guys like Nanny, Mclean, and, you know, the guys that were running up front going to be around him? I will also say the one guy that this really helps out, Shane Nicewanger. He got turned, but it just cycled him to 5th. So he didn't damage a truck, and he actually came out as a benefit from that yellow because he stayed out as long as he could. So I'm sure he's mad that he got turned, but at the end of the day, he actually makes up ground. So right now we get a full reset. Brockman will be your leader. Lawson is going to line up 9th. Jake Miller will catch the wave around in 14th. Matthew Durr is the one that's going to vote. He's also going to get the wave around back in 19th. So all your Championship 4 drivers will stay on the lead lap. 2 of them will be on slightly older tires. But again, towards the end of the run, Jake Miller was dead even with guys like Ross Brockman. The question is that clean air going to help Ross Brockman this time?
Ross Brockman's going to lead the field. He's going to be challenged by Madalinas and Nanny and Mclean, who have been three of the fastest drivers all day, not too far behind them in the 7th spot, now on equal tires to Ross Brockman is Ashton Lawson. And I think that's the driver you're really going to need to watch out for on this restart. Ashton Lawson, driver, the number 24, driving that Tony Stewart throwback this week. He has equal tires to Brockman, and he's shown to be one of the fastest trucks here today. Does he get up there and get past Brockman? Maybe even compete for the win here today. Maybe get his second win of his Truck Series career and a championship possibly.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guys up here that can still potentially win this race that I don't think they thought otherwise a little while ago. Now that this is all flipped on its head, but um, yeah, I'd be interested to see what these guys decide to do, especially knowing that there are these championship competitors up here like Ross Brockman and Ashton Lawson lining up inside your top 10. Hunter Manolinas looks like he crossed the line first, but I think that was by mistake, and Brockman will line up your leader, in fact.
We have a lot of wave around guys here. A lot of drivers still passing the pace cars. They're in 1 and 2. I'm questioning if they're still gonna. It looks like they're gonna go green this time, but I'm not sure if all these drivers will be able to make it around in time. It's gonna be very close. They're gonna have to really hustle, especially a driver like Jake Miller and Matthew Durr trying to compete for the championship here today. Around a half a lap from going green, and Miller is just now passing the start-finish line. You see right there on your screen. Brockman's going to lead him to the green flag with Madalinas on his high side. Daniel Nanny, who's dominated most of the race so far, will restart in the 3rd position on the inside. Then restarting on the outside of him in the 2nd row will be Steve Mclean, looking to get that first win. He's been very strong this season. He's faced a lot of bad luck. Does he possibly get it today in the series finale? Brockman's going to lead him to the green flag. I'm watching these drivers, and it looks like they're going to just barely be able to catch onto the tail end of the field. Miller has already caught up to the tail end of the field. Brockman will take the green flag once again after our first caution flag. And the green flag is waving for Ross Brockman. A good start from him with Madalinas on his high side. How hard does Madalinas push it knowing that Brockman is a championship 4 contender?
Well, I think you're going to see just how hard Daniel Nanny wants to push it. We've seen him be aggressive at tracks like this. He obviously was eliminated from the playoffs in a really frustrating Bristol incident where he dominated the race and just couldn't get out of it in time. So we'll have to see exactly how aggressive he wants to get here on these other guys. Jake Miller, meanwhile, being ultra aggressive back here around guys like Kyle Nogle and Lewis Woodall, really trying to drive up through the field. He knows that he's on older tires. He knows he's got to pick off a couple of these spots, but he also doesn't want to be involved in whatever's going to happen. Matthew Durr in the same situation, restarted back in about 19th, 20th spot. These guys need to make up these spots, and they need to make them up quickly.
I'm watching Ross. A very smart driving from Ross, not battling these drivers too hard. Nanny and Madalinas and Mclean have been the class of the field all day. Brockman just needs to focus on his other competitors in the championship. He just needs to beat them. He doesn't have to worry about Madalinas, Nanny, and Mclean. He can let them race themselves while he has to race for a championship with the other 3 contenders.
Like I said, Brockman is probably one of the smartest guys in this field. He knows he just needs to save tires. He knows he has the freshest tires. He used them to his advantage last time. We saw it. We saw it live. So he knows what he's got. He just needs to keep the guy that's right behind him, and just manage the gap now. He can run 5th, he can run 6th. I mean, he was 11th and he had the championship once. So he just needs to keep the 24 and the 4 truck and the 41 truck all behind him. So all these other 4s chasing the 52.
Here comes Lawson. Lawson's on equal tires to Brockman. This is the first time we've really seen any of the championship contenders other than Durr be on an equal strategy as Lawson comes up right in front of him. What a slide job move off the corner from the number 24 of Lawson, able to just squeeze in front of Brockman. Brockman maybe even cut him a little bit of a break there, knowing we're still a little early on in this race. Still almost 50 laps to go.
It's still go time, man. These guys know it. Jake Miller's cleared Lewis Woodall now. He set sights on Matthew Daniels, who's right behind this battle. This is not going to be over anytime soon. Look for Miller to potentially make ground. He's only got a few lap older tires, 4 or 5 laps, very similar to the last run that they were on. So we'll have to see if this traffic hurts Ashton Lawson and Ross Brockman, although Ashton being able to sit out front with a lot of clean air, about a half a second behind the nearest competitor right now.
Lawson has the clean air right now. Brockman not too far behind him. Lawson can save his tires a little bit as Brockman continues to fall back a little bit, but I've noticed that about Ross all night. He's really, really slow on the short runs, but the longer they go, the faster he gets. He hangs on to that spot for now. Oh, it looks like someone's in the wall up into the high side. It looks like Kyle Nogel in the 59. Oh, DuPont gets sideways on the backstretch. A lot of action going on right here. Garbage Lotta now going to pass Kyle on the inside. It looks like going to try to clear him off the corner.
Nothing changing between Lawson and Brockman. They're just following each other through again. You just mentioned Brockman very, very aware of his tire situation. You can see him driving a little bit harder into the corner, but he's going to keep up with Ashton coming off. He's got Duclos right behind him, so he can't really just play how he wants to play. He can't do very much with that 97 truck directly on his tail. So he drives into the corner a little bit harder. You can see it, but he doesn't want to use up the tire, so he's not really getting back to the gas early either. He's just making sure that Lawson knows he's there. He's filling the mirror, he's filling the right side, he's filling the left side, and he's just showing him, hey, I'm here if you want to, if you want to make a mistake and give it to me. And now he looks to the outside as Ashton drives it in. Brockman drives it in deeper to the outside. He goes down the backstretch. They'll be side by side. Brockman with the run side by side into turn 3.
Brockman and Lawson battling it out really hard. This is the championship lead at the moment. This is a battle for 6th on the racetrack, but a battle for the championship right now with a little over 40 laps to go here at Atlanta Motor Speedway for the Giant Tiger 200, the season finale for season number 4 of the Great Lakes Truck Series presented by Patti Engineering. Who is going to get the job done?
And if we don't get another yellow by the end of this, I mean, Jake Miller is lapping 4 or 5 tenths slower than these guys right now. He's not in prime position. He's been stuck behind Matt Daniels and Brandon Barkowski as he's trying to clear Matt Daniels on the inside coming down the front stretch. Brandon Barkowski has actually made some ground up to about 11th now and has actually driven around Jake Miller when they started on the same set of tires back there on that restart.
I say what Miller needs to do, because these drivers are going to have to pit just one more time. Miller is going to have to go off way strategy. I feel like he has to actually make an early pit stop here, get himself back into the running of this thing. And then I'm looking at someone like Ashton Lawson and Ross Brockman. I say Lawson just really has to stick with Brockman. Whatever he does, he should either do the same thing or stay out one extra lap. I don't think Lawson should make that early pit stop like he's made 2 previous times.
Yeah, the question really for Jake is, what do? You don't have the tire right now. There's no way to really gain the tire advantage. You're just going to have to try to, again, it's a 3-second gap. That's what it's been all day for him that he's been trying to work out, and that caution just threw a whole wrench into his plan. He was even with Brockman. He could have done something about it on the last stop, and instead, now he's going to be sitting here questioning how he can make it work in these last 30 or 40 laps.
A little less than 40 laps to go on the Great Lakes Truck Series season. Brockman leads the championship with Lawson in second in the championship. Checking on the race leaders, Madalinas leads the field. Nanny's right there though. Nanny's been right behind him the whole time. I saw Nanny trying to get the draft down the backstretch, and Madalinas kept on cutting his draft down the back straightaway. And Mclean still stalking both of them right there in the 3rd spot. These 3 have just been so strong all day long, the number 9, the number 30, and the 37. As you see Lawson and Brockman continue to battle up here.
Yeah, this is benefiting Jake because they're stuck behind Gonzalez, and they're going to be side by side in a second here, it looks like, because I don't think Ashton's just going to let this go. So this is all just beneficial to Jake as long as they sit here trapped. If they can get ahead of these guys and drive around them and get going, they're going to be in a much better spot. But right now, this really benefits someone like Jake as Ashton Lawson looks to the inside of Ross Brockman going into turn 1.
And I think you saw it right there, what may be Ross Brockman's weakest point when it comes to his racing. Sometimes he doesn't get as aggressive as Lawson can get. Brockman got underneath Gonzalez and kind of just backed off a little bit, knowing that he wasn't going to complete the pass. And Lawson immediately sent it in on Brockman coming down the front straightaway. He's going to complete the pass going through 3 and 4 this time by. Lawson's showing his speed right now, and now he approaches Gonzalez. Can he get past Jordan Gonzalez here?
The more people Ashton can put between him and Brockman, the better he is right now. I think he has the speed over Brockman. He needs to clear these guys. He needs to be, precise, and he needs to be quick about it because he can't get trapped here on the bottom, or Brockman can fill that slot on the outside. The outside is pretty solid for passing if you can get there, because the inside gets really tight. Gonzalez is not quite going to let him go. Looks like he pulls wide enough. So Ashton has the spot regardless, but he wants to go after Eric and put 2 trucks between him and Brockman right now.
With these drivers getting held up a little bit by Gonzalez and Kep right here. Last time by, Miller actually ran a 10th quicker than both Lawson and Brockman. So this is definitely making a difference, them getting caught up behind Jordan and Eric here. But Lawson has cleared Eric Kep, and now he's moved himself into that 4th position and sets his sights on that top 3 of Mclean, Nanny, and Madalinas. Here comes Ross on the inside of Gonzalez. Can he make the pass on Gonzalez? He needs to make this pass. Gavin Fitzgerald is approaching these drivers very quickly as well. And Brockman's not able to make the move right there in 1 and 2. And it looks like Kep got to the low side, and it's going to kind of block. He's going to kind of box in Brockman. I don't know if he's keeping him back there for Ashton Lawson, but he jumps to the inside. Now Brockman's kind of stuck here behind Gonzalez and Kep.
You got to wonder if Brockman really just kind of thinks maybe I should have been more aggressive on that start and stayed up towards the front. It seems he wanted to take the strategy of maybe maintaining tires a little bit more instead of holding off Nanny and Madalinas. But instead, I mean, now Ashton Lawson has checked out on these guys. Gavin Fitzgerald fills a spot above Eric Kep. Eric lets Brockman and Gavin, looks like he's going to let both of them go here and cycle in behind. But Brockman now just staring far ahead into the distance to watch Ashton Lawson drive away as Jordan Gonzalez hits pit road.
Here comes Gonzalez. I was just about to say, if these drivers pit right now, they can make it to the finish. So I'm going to be watching for a driver maybe like Jake Miller or Matt Durr, maybe come in and try to make this last pit stop to get you to the remainder of get you through the remainder of this race. Brockman currently 2nd in the championship. You see him here holding off, trying to hold off Gavin Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald has shown a lot of speed all night. Started 2nd, but had to go to the end of the longest line at the very beginning. Got himself back up to the top 5 fairly quickly and has been running in the top 5 most of the day in that 14 machine.
Jake stays on track. We'll see if that changes. Again, he's even with Brockman and Lawson still, but he has that 3-second gap to Ashton Lawson that he needs to make up one way or another. And I just don't know how he does that with this few laps left.
Oh, and too close is in the wall hard. He almost spins it off the corner, coming down the back straightaway. That's something that can get Miller back into this race. Either a caution or something like coming in right now and seeing when Lawson comes in. Lawson's sitting in a very good position. There's Miller right now. Right when I'm saying it, Miller is going to make that last pit stop of the day. This has to be a golden stop for him. He has to get into his pit box cleanly, cannot overshoot his box or anything. And now if I'm Ashton Lawson, if I see that Jake Miller is on pit road, I come in this time. If I come in this time, it almost makes Jake Miller winning the championship impossible unless we get a caution or Lawson makes a very big mistake. Miller gets into his box okay, it looks like. I'm watching Lawson and he passes by pit road here. This is very big for Miller. This could really help him, the fact that Lawson's passed by pit road a 2nd time. When Miller comes back onto the track, he's going to be running around 31-second lap times. Lawson's running 33-second lap times. Before Miller came down pit road, he was only 3 seconds back of the 24 of Ashton Lawson. By my calculations, if the 24 of Lawson would have come in this time by, he would be around 3 seconds behind Jake Miller. And he passes pit road once again.
Brockman also stays out. All of these guys staying out. Matthew Durr is also on track, outside lane. He'll stay out once again. I think Jake's just throwing a last-ditch effort. He has nothing left. He was already going to be stuck basically in the position he was in. He had the oldest tires. He needed to be the first one to make a call. There's 25, 26 laps left in this race, and he just decided this is basically what I have left. I'm going to use what I've got. I'm going to run this run out, and if he gets far enough ahead of them, maybe they can't close down the gap in the amount of laps left.
Because Miller is catching these drivers 2 seconds a lap right now. So he's just making up so much time every lap. I'm figuring if Lawson maybe comes in this time by, he's going to be around 8 to 10 seconds, possibly even behind Jake Miller. Like, these fresh tires just make such a huge difference. Will Lawson or any of these other drivers have enough time to catch up to them? As our leaders come down pit road, Madalenas and Mclean, and Nanny stays out, and now Lawson's right there. Battle
Not
for
to
the
mention,
lead.
those top four for the lead were on top of each other as well. I was about to say that too. Ashton had caught them from about 2 seconds back and had driven right up to them. So we'll have to see how that all shapes out as well. But Ashton looked like he was about to go for the win on top of the race. And Jake Miller has caught the back end of Ross Brockman and Shane Neiswanger here. Miller is definitely in a position. He's going to get really stuck there. Wow, he goes to the inside, 3 wide. He can't give up any ground. Ashton Lawson hits pit road. The strategies are now falling. Let's see where Brockman and Durr end up going. But right now, it's the battle between Ashton Lawson and Jake Miller's pit strategies.
Yeah, Miller stays out. He's made his final stop. How far can he get in front of Lawson? I think he can maybe get almost 10 seconds in front of Ashton Lawson. Let's see where these guys settle out. Lawson and Miller. Lawson making his final pit stop. Right now, you're watching it live. He was able to get into his box okay. Not any problems for Lawson. And as he drives onto the track, he's going to get passed by Miller on the outside.
And we have a huge stack of drivers on top of each other, and Ashton's going to come out behind it. You can see it through turns 1 and 2. They're 4 wide. Brandon's going to get bumped by Matt Daniels. He hits Ashton Lawson. They all collect it. Wow. Unbelievable stuff. Brandon's not wrecking. I thought he was for a second. They all save it, but that was a massive group of cars there, and Ashton's going to come out right behind them. That's not beneficial. We're going to have to see how these next 25 laps unfold.
A huge cluster of cars, some of those drivers on old tires, some of those drivers on new tires, and that almost got real crazy real quick. They were all able to save it, and they're able to keep on going. Right now, your championship leader is Ross Brockman, who has yet to make that final pit stop. Matthew Durr is second in the championship battle, who's also yet to make his final pit stop. Jake Miller running in the 9th position on the racetrack. He has made that final pit stop. And Ashton Lawson, I'm looking to see how far he is behind him. Ashton Lawson's around almost 6 seconds behind Jake Miller right now. The number 24 already making up ground on Jake Miller as he's 3 wide, going into 1 and 2. Almost made contact with Woodall, gave a huge squeeze to Woodall. I don't think Lawson knew they were 3 wide right there, and some great driving from Lewis Woodall, able to keep it off. Championship contender, Ashton Lawson.
Brockman has hit pit road. He is currently going to lose a ton of time. I mean, he's still in his box, and Miller is already past the start-finish line. Brockman is going to lose a ton of time over this stop. You've got to wonder if he can make that up over the next 20 laps in this race. Miller going around the outside of Eric Kepf. That's going to be for the 8th position. Miller in the catbird seat. It's all flipped upside down. Can Ashton Lawson track down Jake Miller, who's now upwards of 6 seconds up ahead of him?
Jake Miller is in between 5 and 6 seconds right now in front of Lawson. That last time by, Lawson ran around 3/10 quicker than Miller. How quick can he catch up to him? Does he have enough time to get to Jake Miller? Matthew Durr currently is still leading the championship battle as he comes down pit road for the last time. And this will hand the championship lead off to Jake Miller, who will move into the 6th place on the racetrack. Jake Miller trying to get the job done after 2 straight runner-up finishes in the championship. Can he get the job done today? Earlier this season, he drove a Season 4 champion car, self-proclaimed champion. Is he able to get the job done here today?
Ross Brockman is in the middle of the backstretch while Jake Miller is going into turn 1. It shows how much these tires really killed themselves towards the end of this race. Did Jake Miller make the right call? The track temp has gone up by 10 degrees. It's not gripped up out there. They've got no rear tires on the trucks. They're probably sliding everywhere at this point. It's a completely different complexion than how we started this race. Miller's known to not like loose race cars, while Ashton Lawson really, really good on road courses and has no problem controlling that tire spin. It's going to come down to these 2 drivers over the next roughly 15 laps. Matthew Durr pulled a 2-tire strategy, I think.
And that's the only way he's really going to be able to keep himself in this thing, Matthew Durr. pretty far back still, but that might be able to at least keep him on the lead lap because he was really struggling with lap times with his damage, especially that number 41 machine.
Actually, I don't think he did. I thought it was because he was coming out right behind Jake. Maybe that's what he pulled off to try to hope that he could stay in this group and potentially change his luck around, but he is going to go a lap down. He's going to be right in front of Ashton Lawson, which, again, only hurts Ashton. If Matthew Durr can sit here and run right in front of Ashton Lawson with fresh tires, he gets loose in front of him. He's going to hold Ashton up off the corner as well. This is just hurting Ashton the whole time, and I don't think Durr's just going to move over for him. They are championship competitors. Whether Durr's a lap down or not, you can't just sit there and let that guy go.
Yeah, around 15 laps to go. Miller currently leads out of all the drivers that have made their final pit stop, but Madalinas is coming quick. He came in around 3 laps later than Miller, so he has fresher tires. Madalinas has been one of the dominant drivers all day long. He's going to try to get in front of Jake Miller. Currently, Nicewanger and Brandon Barkuski have yet to make their final stops of the day as we have 15 laps to go. They're getting crazy back here still. Here comes Mclean and Nanny, who are also on similar strategies to Hunter Madalinas.
Madalinas is going to clear Jake Miller probably pretty easily. I don't think Jake's super concerned about it. He says you can go probably win this race, but I don't care. I'm trying to do this for a championship. He's going to let Hunter go here into turn 1. Hunter clears him, move Hunter up to what will be the race lead when Brandon Barkuski and Shane Nicewanger make their pit stop. Jake Miller is just worried about this gap that is dwindling now between him and Ashton Lawson. It's down to 2 seconds. You can see Ashton Lawson in the distance behind him, tracking down Jordan Gonzalez. Can Jake Miller have enough tire to make this work?
Question is, what happens? Because I think Lawson's going to get there before this race is done. Question is, what happens when he does get there? You have the Great Lakes Truck Series, possibly their two most aggressive race car drivers. What happens between these drivers? Do we see contact? Do we see clean racing? What do we see from the 24 and the number 4? 2 of the fastest guys all season, and 2 drivers that are not afraid whatsoever to use their bumpers.
It is a 5-lap difference between Jake Miller and Ashton Lawson. That's what it was earlier in this race when Jake drove up and passed that whole group of cars and just kept going until Brockman eventually got the better of him. Can he hold Ashton off here for another 10, 11 laps as we close in on about 10 to go?
Jake Miller currently second on the racetrack. Hunter Madalinas just in front of him is your race leader. Right behind Jake Miller, you have Ashton Lawson. That is your championship battle right now. Daniel Lanny right behind him in 4th, and Steve Mclean back there in 5th. Those 2 have been very fast and have ran in the top 3 most of the day. But the big battle right now is right here. The number 4 versus the number 24. Jake Miller versus Ashton Lawson. Who is your champion of season number 4? Just over 10 laps to go, and Lawson is there. He has caught up so much in the last couple of laps. That last lap, he was almost a full half second quicker than Jake Miller. What does Jake do here? He knows he's not quicker. Does he give up the spot? How hard does he race him?
He's going to give him about what he's got. I mean, he can't just let him go, but he also can't just sit here and really battle him because he doesn't want to risk killing his own tires. He knows that these guys are both going to run out of tires. Here comes Nanny to provide maybe a little bit of support. Nanny's faster than both of these guys on fresher tires. If Jake can just sit here and just make Ashton run his stuff out, he might have a shot at this because Ashton is not going to have the tires that need on this run. Jake has consistently been able to save more tires despite having faster lap times over both of these guys. Can he actually get back to Ashton Lawson at this point now?
Lawson has taken the championship lead, and he's taken 2nd place on the racetrack. Here comes Matt Durr. He is not on the lead lap. He is a lap down. He was the last driver to make a pit stop, I'm pretty sure. So he is a lot quicker than these drivers right now, but he cannot find a way past Nanny and Miller, maybe trying to get that lap back the old-fashioned way in the number 41 machine, hoping possibly on a late caution here. Ten laps to go in the Great Lakes Truck Series presented by Patti Engineering, season number 4. Lawson currently is your championship leader. Jake Miller is around a second back of Ashton Lawson, running around a half a second slower each lap. So at this point, Miller, I think, is hoping we get a late race caution. Ashton Lawson could smell a championship. He is the ARCA champion. Great Lakes had an ARCA series, and they ran 1 season of it. And Ashton Lawson was your champion in that series, looking to get his second career Great Lakes Series championship here today.
Matthew Durr to the outside of Ashton Lawson there again. Freshest tires in the field. He's just trying to pick back any spot that he can and make his way up through here.
Lawson hanging on to that second spot for now. We have 8 laps to go. Madalinas.
Manny in the wall.
Manny getting a little into the wall. Looks like he will be okay. Not too big of a hit, it looked like, for the number 30 of Nanny, trying to get up to Lawson. Nanny's been pretty much the dominant truck most of the day. Madalinas has been running around second or third most of the day, and on this last set of pit stops has really separated himself from everybody else. Madalinas almost a second and a half in front of Lawson, trying to get his 6th victory of the season. Of course, Madalinas is not part of the Championship 4 after missing out on the Championship 4 by only 3 points last week at Martinsville, but looking to continue his phenomenal season in the number 9.
You just gotta wonder with the tire advantage now if there's anything negative that goes on for Ashton Lawson. I think honestly what's gonna save him, well, I wouldn't say save him, but the call of the race was just that early pit stop in the middle of that one sequence that ultimately kept him on the lead lap while it put everybody else a lap down. Or I'm sorry, well, at least put the other 2 Championship 4 drivers a lap down between Jake Miller and Matthew Durr. The tires seem to have evened out. Jake's running about the same pace as Ashton, but I mean, he can't make up the ground. It's a whole second gap, and I just don't know that he can get back to him.
I just don't think Miller has the speed at this moment to get up to Lawson or the time. Miller's going to really need to hope on a caution or for Lawson to make a late race mistake right here. Lawson has the championship in his hands right now if we're able to keep it green. Ashton Lawson driving that number 24. Looking to be the Tony Stewart throwback. He's looking to do Tony some justice here today by trying to get his first Truck Series championship here today.
Yeah, and the question is what could have been if Jake would have pitted maybe 2 laps later. The tires may have evened out, but we have had the gap to be able to maintain over Ashton, who is now almost setting sights on teammate Hunter Madalinas for potentially the win for not just the championship but for the race, as Steve Mclean is now pressuring Jake Miller for this 4th spot.
Here comes Mclean in 37 looking to take over that 4th spot, and that will just put another car in between Miller and Lawson. That would move Miller back to the 5th spot, and Lawson hanging out right now in the 2nd spot, as you mentioned, Elliott, trying to get up to Madalinas and maybe snag his 2nd career win in the Great Lakes Truck Series here late. He's been catching him the last couple laps. Actually, looks like that last time Madalinas might have been a little quicker, but before that, Lawson was catching up around 1/10 of a lap each lap for a while there. Madalinas is facing some lap traffic here.
Meanwhile, Brockman's charge has gone on pretty well, but he is still 12 seconds off as Brandon Barkowski battles him for the 9th position. An unfortunate turn for Brockman, who looked like for a while that he may have that all but sold. But it took Ashton Lawson on a restart to drive up through the field and get to him. And Jake is evened out with everybody around him, but that's only bad news for him because that's just every lap. He's not able to catch Ashton Lawson, who is getting ever closer to Hunter Madalinas, who has a bunch of traffic all around him with Michael Levine, Peter Akimano, and I believe that's Matthew Durr still in front of him.
Are they going to make it to the white flag, or will we get the 2nd caution of the day? Here comes Madalinas off 3 and 4. It looks like we're going to get to the white flag. This race is now official as the flagman is waving the white flag, the final lap of the Great Lakes Truck Series season. Can Madalinas bring it home for win number 6? Ashton Lawson's not too far behind him. Can Ashton Lawson hang on this lap and win his first Truck Series championship, his 2nd Great Lakes Series championship? Ashton Lawson, he's just 1 turn away from winning this championship. Madalinas leading the field. Can he get win number 6? Here they come off turns 3 and 4. And Hunter Madalinas will win the Giant Tiger 200. And Ashton Lawson is your Season 4 champion. Ashton Lawson wins his championship. Season 4 champion, his 2nd championship in Great Lakes Series competition, his 1st championship since the Great Lakes ARCA championship last year. What a job from Lawson. Phenomenal season. gets his 10th top 5 of the season. What a job from Lawson.
For the third straight season, Jake Miller is going to be bridesmaid once again. Super unfortunate end to him. He pulled the strategy out really well. It just wasn't enough at the end of the day. Came home P4. But what an incredible job for Ashton Lawson to show us what the most dominant season can look like from a consistency standpoint, because that's what that was all season long.
Phenomenal performance from Ashton Lawson. And we're going to try to get you some interviews from our Championship 4 drivers, plus our winner, Hunter Madalinas, here tonight. A little longer on the interviews tonight. Going to have 5 interviews instead of the normal 3 or 4. But well-deserved from Ashton Lawson. 22 races later, and he is the champion. After 1 win on the season at Watkins Glen and getting a 2nd place here today, he's able to lock up the championship. Great job from Ashton Lawson. He's able to celebrate with his teammate, Hunter Madalinas, who won the race. Gavin Fitzgerald also burning down the car down there as well. Gavin Fitzgerald able to come home 7th in the Giant Tiger Machine. Great job from Spectrum. This is a team effort. Great job from them to get the job done here today. Madalinas very happy to get that win, and Lawson is beyond ecstatic to get that championship. I heard him immediately light up on the radio after that one.
I mean, it was a phenomenal race all around. Just the one yellow, which we knew may or may not wreak havoc on these guys, considering all the black flags and EOLs and penalties that we had to hand out earlier. And it was Ashton Lawson and Jake Miller that really showed their speed and their mental savvy to make sure that they could end up on the top end of that. It was just the only side that killed Jake. He stayed out slightly too long during that section, and that was when Ashton undercut the whole field, and it was enough to bring home the trophy. I think Jake kind of wishes he would like to get that one back, because if he could have just followed Ashton down pit road and mimicked his strategy, he may have been able to work that one out himself.
We're going to try to get some interviews here for you. I was trying to move some drivers over to our waiting room and cannot seem to move to waiting room. I can move them to everywhere else but the waiting room. But we're going to try to get you some of those drivers. I think we're going to try to talk to Ashton first and get his reaction from the championship. Great job from Ashton Lawson. Been very consistent all year long, and it's kind of what got him the championship. Has had a lot of great finishes all year. That was just his 10th top 5 on the season and his 14th top 10. That leads the whole series in top 5s and top 10s by a good amount. Had the best average finish coming into tonight at a 9.9. So just a very good season from Lawson. Very consistent and stayed under the radar for the most part. I think we're going to try to get in Ashton Lawson. Ashton, Kyle Short up in the booth. You got me?
Yeah.
So, Ashton, you are our Great Lakes Truck Series champion. How do you feel, Ashton?
I feel phenomenal. It's been a long journey coming from ARCA and come up to the trucks, and to finally get it done means a lot.
You've ran a very strong season. You led the whole series in top 5s and top 10s and average finish, and your average finish coming into this race. And you were able to get your first win a couple of weeks ago at Watkins Glen. But how much bigger does this feel compared to that win a few weeks ago? Like, I heard you come over the radio immediately, and you were very ecstatic, to say the least, as you're celebrating with your teammates we're seeing on the screen here.
I mean, it was awesome to get the first win, but it's nothing like winning a championship. It's nothing like it.
You definitely put on a show. In those last few laps, it looked like you were trying to maybe get to your teammate Madalinas. Do you think you maybe had anything for Hunter if you had a couple more laps there?
Maybe, but I was burning my tires up, making sure I was able to get past Jake, so I was just cooling them down and taking it easy on the last couple laps, so I don't know.
We talked about the end of the race. Let's get back into the big, meaty part of the race. A lot of that race, you were stuck in behind, especially after having that penalty on lap number 1. And it was a huge comeback story for you and Jake Miller, coming all the way back from your penalties and able to get back into competition. What was maybe going through your mind through some of those pit strategies you guys are making? Because I was noticing you came onto pit road very early for the most part.
Yeah, I knew for the second stint I had a short pit to gain any ground on Brockman and Jake. So the only issue was they had like 10 lap gap. Where if a yellow came out, I was screwed. But luckily it didn't.
And I know it had to be going through your mind those last couple laps, just hoping and praying on no caution flags because you were able to get past Jake Miller pretty easily on those fresher tires. Was that going? Because I know that was going through my mind just watching you. Was that going through your mind that we might get a late race caution here as we've had throughout most of the season here?
I'd say about every second in the last 5 laps it was.
So we're gonna have to talk about next season now because I got Mr. Elliott Henderson in the booth and he won the first three championships, 1, 2, 3. Are you gonna make it back to back next year, Ashton? Or are you gonna at least attempt to make it back to back in season 5?
I'm gonna attempt it, but there's a lot of tough competition now with Jake, Ross, Hunter, many more. So it's a lot of hard work to get to the championship. So I'll do my best.
Well, before we send you out, Ashton, anybody you have to thank for your phenomenal season and your championship and your phenomenal comeback story here today at Atlanta?
I'm gonna thank R.J. Williams, Richard Grosso, Eric Kep, and also my paint scheme maker, Elliott Henderson.
Well, we appreciate you, Ashton, and congrats on that championship, man. It was well deserved. You had a phenomenal season, ran well all year long, and you were able to finish it off with a great race here at Atlanta and go out there and celebrate, man. You deserve it. And we'll see you at Daytona next season.
Thank you.
Yep. And I'm thinking maybe next in the booth, we're going to try, I'm thinking maybe Jake Miller or second place in the championship, 3 straight runner ups. Actually, it sounds like we're gonna get Madalinas in here first. Actually, Hunter Madalinas, Kyle Short up in the booth. You got me,
I got you.
Hunter. Great race, man. You're running in the top 2 or 3 pretty much all day long, and then on that last set of stops, you were all of a sudden way out in front. What was the strategy on that last stop?
Um, it was just kind of pit at a spot that I was comfortable, that I knew I wasn't gonna have too much struggle on the end of the tires. I was able to get out to that big lead, and I didn't see Ashton really coming, and then he popped up on my relative for the first time, and I was like, ah, he's a little bit back. So I was kind of focusing ahead, logging some laps, and when I looked back, he was already there, and I was like, oh my lord, I got to start pushing this thing, or we're gonna come in P2 and not get our sixth one.
You had a phenomenal season, Hunter. 6 wins on the year, led the whole series in wins. How did it feel really coming into this race though, it being the championship 4 and you weren't competing for it? Were you just going out there trying to spoil the whole field and just dominate the day?
Um, yeah, I feel like a lot of relief got released off my shoulders when I realized I wasn't going for anything. I know upsetting that I wasn't racing for a title, but yeah, my goal was just going into that race was pretty much have fun, and just run as good as I thought I could run. I didn't think I had a winning truck to start the race. I was able to kind of work my way up because of the monstrous amount of pass throughs we had. I was not expecting that, um, but was able to keep the car in clean air most of the night, and then was able to capitalize on pit strategy on just making the right calls like I did back in Milan.
At one point in the race, well, maybe not at one point in the race, for a good 40, 50 laps right there, you, Nanny, and Mclean were just all on top of each other. Me watching it, it looked pretty fun from my standpoint. How was it racing with those drivers that hard for the race lead for such a good amount of time?
That was the most fun I think I've had on this simulator. I mean, we were challenging each other so much, and we were all racing each other with total respect. And I know me and Steve were joking around because I kept taking his pit strategy and pitting the same time he did. But yeah, it was a fun time racing. I mean, that's what this race was to me, was just to go out there and have some fun, and definitely produce that.
Yeah, I mentioned how great of a season you had, Hunter. A lot of us had you in our championship 4, if not winning the championship. Do we expect you to maybe make another run at this championship next season for season number 5?
You can 100% count on it. I will be putting in some extra practice and working real hard to get into this Final Four.
Well, I love to hear that, Hunter. You've been so strong all year long, and we're excited to see you next year at Daytona. Anybody you have to thank for this performance this season?
Um, Gotta thank it to Eric Kep. He's always been on my side and leading me through the way. He's been a real supporter through me throughout my whole time being here, and love that y'all put on these great races. Always produces the good broadcasting, and gotta congrats to Ashton. He drove one hell of a season, and he drove his hardest off here and was able to get it.
Well, we appreciate you talking to us, Hunter, and we're excited to see you next season at Daytona.
Yep, 100%. Y'all have a very good off season.
You too, man. Have a good night, man.
Good night.
All right, now I think we might bring in Jake Miller, our second place in points, second place in the championship the last 3 seasons. Jake Miller, I'll short up in the booth. You got me?
Yes, sir.
Jake, great comeback for you, man. I know you weren't able to snag the championship, but it was very impressive just to see you and Ashton up there in the top 5 in the late running. But what was maybe going through your mind in the late running when you saw Lawson just getting bigger and bigger in your mirror, and you knew he was on the fresher tires?
My only thoughts are I hate cautions, I hate cautions, I hate cautions, and I hate cautions.
Yeah, that one caution definitely threw the whole race for a loop. But then at the very end, I bet you were probably hoping for a caution because you shown a lot of speed all race long and just wasn't able to keep up with Lawson there. What would have possibly been the difference maker there late to get yourself back into that?
When that caution did come out, if I would have short pitted like he did, and I could have been on the lead lap, but there's really nothing I could have done besides put him in the wall, and I didn't want to do that. But we definitely thought it because that's what you got to think of. But we didn't attempt it because didn't want to do that.
Definitely some great racing from you all season, Jake. You've been just phenomenal all year, and I really thought here today you're gonna possibly get the job done. It was really looking strong pretty much all day long. I was hoping that maybe you guys would get stacked back up because it seemed like out of the 4, you might have had the most speed, but just being off on strategy just really played a huge factor into it. But what was racing your championship 4 contenders today like? Because for a lot of the day, you guys were all on top of each other for a good amount of the day.
It was real up and down. Nothing against Ross or Matt, but I knew me and Ashton were probably going to be the quicker two, and we were the ones with penalties, so it definitely started as a down day. And then, me and Ashton figured out we were fast, and then at one point we were all four in a line, and that was pretty fun racing for that. Just we weren't around each other for like the first uh, half of the race, but when we all came out of pit road and it was four of us in the line, then you kind of felt the adrenaline going through because you're racing those guys for a championship, and it just sucks that that caution came out because I think I would have had this thing like just cakewalked without that caution.
That's been the story throughout a good amount of the season. These cautions that just come out at these untimely times. But anybody you have to thank for your performance this season, Jake? Because you had a phenomenal one, being second in wins and then finishing second in the points for the third straight season. Anybody you have to thank for your performance this season?
Ron and all split second esports, especially Elliott. He's making sure I had all the updates tonight because he's in the booth instead of being my crew chief, so he can still crew chief from the sidelines.
Well, we appreciate you talking to us, Jake, and I definitely expect you to make another run at this championship next year. Do you plan on making that another run? See you next year in the season 5?
Yep, I'm gonna try for 4 second places in the points in a row because that's what we're good at apparently at split second esports for me at least.
We're excited to see you next season, Jake, and see you in the championship 4 again. And hopefully you can get the championship this time, Jake.
Yep, thank you. You guys have a good one.
You too, Jake. Have a good night, man. Next, I think we're going to probably bring in third finisher in the championship, 10th place on the track, Ross Brockman, Mr. Clean. I've started to call him. Led the whole series when it came to the least amount of incident points per race. Did a great job all season. Ross Brockman, Kyle short up in the booth. You got me,
I gotcha.
Ross. Good race, man. Able to snag a top 10, but you fell off a little bit when it came to the strategy there late. What was maybe going through your mind on that last run when you knew how far you were back after you came into pit road pretty much last out of your competitors?
Yeah, I had. I don't know if you guys saw. I got a little bit of damage at one point, and I think that hurt my car. It made it where I was still decent enough, but I think it burns your tires up when you have that much damage. And I wanted to get the lead that last run before when we came off of pit road, so I fixed as much damage as I could to still keep the lead. And I raced Ashton there. It was so much fun racing him that last run there for a while until he finally got me clear. And once he did, I knew that even if I pitted before him, I'm probably not going to pass him. And if maybe I could run a little bit later, if a caution comes out, I won't have to pit and I could jump him that way. Or maybe it runs a little bit longer and I can get back to him. Yeah, I just thought with the damage, I didn't know if I'd be able to get back to him, but I think that's what ultimately hurt me in the end was that. But that's what Atlanta. It's so easy to just get in the wall just a little bit. Even when I did it entering the corner, you want to arc it so much that all of a sudden you get someone to your inside and you try to go way up top and I got it. So part of it, but it was fun tonight. I wish we could have had a better shot at it, but we led for a while and I thought the strategy was working for me perfect.
The strategy seemed to be going real well, especially when that caution came out later on in the race. What was maybe going through your mind when that happened? Because at that point, you kind of trapped Jake Miller a lap down, and Lawson was at the very tail end of the lead lap. Was that overall in the strategy right there?
Well, I think that the race how it played out, knowing that Durr was the only guy that really was going to be on the same strategy as me until we got cautions because Ashton and Jake would have penalties. I knew that once Durr kind of backed off a little bit, he got in the wall on that first run. I could save to you guys. You've seen me all year. I prefer to go as far as I can on a tank of fuel, just because of that possibility of getting a caution. And at that point, once I got that caution, I knew that Jake and Ashton would have to take, or Jake and Durr would have to take the wave around, and Ashton would be actually short one set of tires to me. So I'm like, we get a couple cautions at the end here, I can beat him too. But that just didn't happen. So I wanted to restart with the lead there. That was my biggest thing. And when that caution came out, I was pretty excited. Yeah, I wish everyone could have heard how much excitement I had there, but it just didn't work out in the end.
Ross, you ran a very strong race and you had the lead in the championship four throughout most of it. Do we expect you to maybe make another run at the championship next season? Because this was your first season in the truck series. A lot of people, I think, tend to forget that you were a rookie this year and you performed as well as you did.
Does that make me rookie of the year, or we have to talk to the
I
officials?
think so. I think you are rookie of the year. I just don't think there's an actual award for it, but I'll give you rookie of the year right now. Rookie of the year, Ross Brockman.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the plan right now. I really like this format. The playoffs were so much fun. You don't get to experience that, with a lot of things on iRacing. It's that pressure is so much fun, and points racing, going for wins, trying to advance is pretty cool. I had just it was awesome this year. I really enjoyed it, so I'm looking forward to coming back and doing it again. And it sounds like maybe we will do Atlanta again next year for the championship. I hope not, because I still don't think it's a great track for me. But I know they're also reconfiguring it, so who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation point with Atlanta doing the reconfiguration. Will the Great Lakes series ever see this version of Atlanta again, or will we go to the reconfigured version possibly next season? But anybody you have to thank while we still got you here, Ross?
Yeah, I think my opportunity to win tonight first started at Talladega, and I talked about it when I won there. My teammate Kyle worked with me a lot that night. Tonight he was pretty nice to me too. At one point, he was in the free pass position, and I was catching him, and he gave me a break there to get the just to be in that position for the free pass. Never got it, but it was nice to have that, and so it's been great to work with him. I think he ran part time, and I think the goal is for him to run full time next year. So it'll be fun to have two of us. I want to thank you guys for doing this. It's so much fun. Every following day, every Wednesday, I try to watch the broadcast and see what you guys do. You guys do a great job. It's fun to watch, and it's really cool to be featured. So thanks again to you guys. Thanks to everybody that runs the league. Had a ton of fun.
Well, we appreciate you talking to us, Ross, and we're excited to see you at Daytona in February.
Sounds good. I'll be there.
All right. Good night, Ross. Congratulations on third in the championship. Now, next, I think we're going to have our last interview of the night, and it will be the driver of the number 41, Matthew Durr, fourth in the championship for Matt. Kyle Short up in the booth. You got me.
Yep, I got you.
Matt, a good race out there, man, especially at the beginning portion of the race. You looked very, very strong early on. What maybe changed for you there?
Yeah, well, yeah, I really felt like I had a very good truck, but the turn three wall just kind of snuck up on me, and I feel like I didn't get too much damage from it. But when I went down pit road on my first pit stop, it was 40 seconds of damage, and I kind of knew right then and there that I really needed a caution to really fix the damage. But when we got the caution, I was a lap down, so it was just I just kind of had to take the wave around, hope for another caution. But it was very tough. It was a very tough race because it just damage just kept getting tight the longer the run, longer the tires aged. But yeah, I feel like I had a strong truck, but just turn three snuck up on me.
Yeah, you definitely looked like you had a strong truck. Ross was mentioning that when he was just in here, how he had a little bit of right side damage as well, and he felt like it kind of affected him on those longer runs. Just made those tires wear out a little quicker, get the truck a little too tight. But in the like I said, in those early runnings, you had a very strong truck. Immediately drove yourself up to the top five. Looked very strong, and you were able to be very competitive for the most part throughout today. What was maybe going through your mind late in the race though? Because I did see you drive past the leader late. Were you maybe hoping on a late race caution and then try some strategy there?
Yeah, just praying for a caution, just get my damage repaired. Before the last pit stop, I was trying to get a long green flag running, and Aaron told me that they're kind of wrecking off a turn two there, but they all saved it, and my my heart kind of stopped there because I knew that that was really my chance there, but just didn't really work out.
We definitely saw some hard racing and a lot of great saves out there. You were able to barely get into the championship war with just a couple of points over Madalenas last week after a couple of really good runs these last couple of weeks at Talladega and Martinsville. Anybody you have to thank for your performance overall this season, Matt? I know it didn't come out to the finish you wanted. You were able to get into that championship war after having a lot of issues earlier on in the seasons, getting caught up in a lot of wrecks, usually not of your own doing.
Yeah, I just mainly have to thank my teammates, Daniel, Lewis, Aaron. They've helped me out throughout pretty much the entire season, and they're really, really, really good teammates. Just kind of helping me out through the playoffs and through the regular season, and just kind of they just really, really helped me out. And congrats to Ashton Lawson, by the way, for winning the championship. He really deserves it.
Yeah, great job from Lawson, able to get the job done here in the championship. But Matt, next season, do we expect you to maybe make another run at it? You came very close to winning the championship, as I mentioned. You also came close to getting a couple of wins this season. I remember you got, I think, second place at Darlington. You had a very strong season. Do we expect you to maybe make another run at it in season five?
Oh yeah, definitely. I feel like I threw away a couple races a couple wins this season, like Darlington. You said maybe Pocono, but so yeah, I'm definitely gonna try and come back next season and try to win a couple races.
Well, we're excited to see you next season, Matt. I'm getting lost here in my questions. I already asked who you have to thank. So many interviews here
Yeah.
tonight.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Well, we will see you next February in Daytona then, Matt.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, guys.
And thanks for talking to us, Matt, and have a great night, man.
Yep, you too.
And I think that will do it on the interviews for this evening for the Giant Tiger 200, aka the Great Lakes Truck Series finale for season number 4, presented by Patti Engineering. And Ashton Lawson was able to get it done here, Elliott.
Yeah, he sure was in pretty spectacular fashion. Again, those guys with those black flags at the beginning and trying to overcome that. And we thought maybe Jake would have the faster truck, and then he made that one mistake on pit road, and then that yellow flag, I think, is really what turned the tide for the Ford truck. Meanwhile, Ashton Lawson just called it perfect. Short pitted the one time he had to do it, and it worked out absolutely brilliant for him. So kudos to him on that call and everything that made that race happen for him. And shout out to Brockman and Durr for never giving up, for sticking with it despite their issues. Both of them made contact with the wall that they both feel may have impacted their race, if not majorly, at least slightly. But they both showed a ton of speed and a ton of drive to sit there and run through that whole race despite the slow start for both of them. So kudos to all Championship 4 drivers involved. And I'm interested to see how Jake bounces back. I'm interested to see if, like you said, can Ashton go back-to-back champions now. He is now the first official champion in 2 different series in the Great Lakes Racing Series. So really good job to him. I was worried that Nanny would be the first one to do it, and Ashton ended up beating me to it. So kudos to him on that. That's an accolade that obviously no one can take away from him, and he'll own forever. So really impressed with how far he's come and what he was able to accomplish. I'm just hoping he can drop some more wins in that bucket next year and see what he can do in season 5. Maybe make it a little bit more dominant.
We'll go over a couple more things before we send y'all out to the off season, before we see you again in February for the Jeff Johnson 200. Going to do the race results here real quick. Hunter Madalinas, of course, your race winner here today, is 6th victory of the season. Ashton Lawson able to come home 2nd and get that championship. Daniel Landy comes home 3rd after leading a good amount of this race. Jake Miller 2nd in the championship, 4th on the racetrack. Steve Mclean comes home 5th. You got Jordan Gonzalez up here, Gavin Fitzgerald in 7th, Eric Kepf in 8th, Brandon Barkuski, Ross Brockman finishes 4th in the championship, 10th on the track. 3rd in the championship, 10th on the track. Shane Neiswanger in 11th. Matt Daniels, Hunter Brittle in 13th. William Barbagellata in 14th. You have James Shiflett able to finish back in 15th. A good finish for him. You have Matt Durr back here. Kyle Nogel, Aaron Duclos, Anderson Bowen, and Lewis Woodall round out your top 20. And then to go on to the final slide, our final finishers we have here today is Peter Akimano in 21st, Michael Levine in 22nd, Aiden DuPont in 23rd, and then I think that's Siwang Wu making his first career start here today. He left here with around 20 laps into the race, but making his first start here today in the number 54 machine, finishing 105 laps down. Very, very good race here today, and I'm looking forward to next season, Elliott. I've taken a look at the schedule, and it looks like a very good schedule to me. Starting off at Daytona, the playoffs look very strong. It looks like we finish off at Atlanta again next season. I'm wondering if it's going to be the reconfigured version of the track or possibly this version of the track. We have a very exciting schedule to look forward to next season, Elliott.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, it's condensed down to 16 races. It'll follow similar format, race length-wise to the new Premier Series. It'll be announced eventually after the Cup Series ends. So, really good stuff to see some changes coming to the series moving into 2022. But yeah, the schedule for next season for trucks looks phenomenal, about as good as what it was this season. Looking forward to who comes out on top and who can start putting together some of these runs. I mean, can anyone challenge Hunter Madalinas? Can Jake Miller find his way to the championship? We've got a lot of storylines going into next season of, these new blood drivers versus these drivers that just seem to be there but can't get it done. Eric Kepf, can he break through and have a multi-win season? Will Ross Brockman return and potentially make the Final Four? William Barbagellata is another name that we throw around so often that just didn't make the Final Four this season. There's so much talent in this pool, and I'm so excited to see how next season plays out with the condensed schedule, because you really need to strike, and you need to strike fast to be able to clinch the playoff berth and start to move on through the next round. So we'll see exactly who comes out swinging, but I look forward to another really competitive and exciting season.
And the Great Lakes Truck Series always puts on some great competition, a lot of phenomenal drivers in this series. A lot of drivers going to compete again for the championship next year, and some of those drivers I bet didn't even make the playoffs this year, and we'll see them in the playoffs next season competing very hard, because we have a lot of different racetracks. I'm just going to make one more note when it comes to the schedule. I'm just looking at the 5th race of the season. We got the Giant Tiger Dirt Derby at Bristol Motor Speedway, so whoever's good on dirt, they can lock themselves a playoff spot right there. So it's going to be a very interesting season next season for Season 5, and it's definitely something I am looking forward to. And I know a lot of drivers here in the Great Lakes Series and a lot of fans are looking forward to next season possibly being the best one yet. All right, well, we're about to send you off here for the off season. We'll see you guys back in February. I would like to once again congratulate Ashton Lawson on winning the Great Lakes Truck Series Championship for Spectrum and Windshield Deep here tonight. Able to get the job done in the number 24 machine. Ashton Lawson, Florida driver, able to get his 2nd Great Lakes Series championship, his 1st Truck Series championship here in season number 4. Can he repeat in season number 5? And I'd also congratulate Hunter Madalinas on his 6th victory of the season here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And I'd like to appreciate all of you who have tuned in all season long to when we started off as Split Second and switched over to Flatout Racing Network. I would like to appreciate all of you who have stuck with us all season long for the Great Lakes Series presented by Patti Engineering. And we hope to see you again next season for season number 5, where we will be at Daytona for the first race of the season. That race will be on February 15th, right here on the Flatout Racing Network, I'm assuming. And good night, everybody, and we'll possibly see you Thursday for the Great Lakes Series as we continue the Cup Series over there. Only a couple more races left in the Cup Series. And good night. Thank you once again, and once again, congratulations to Ashton and Hunter.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.